Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of On the Same Page, Lord Up with Friends. Today I'm joined with another one of my friends in the TTRPG community. He is a TTRPG game master, player, and your seventh favorite hip hop artist. Matt, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
What up? Thank you for having me, Paige. I'm so excited to be on the show today. Again, my name is Matt, though if you see me online or out in the world, you'll probably hear me go by another name, which is called Nur-D. I have been doing hip hop specifically for the last 5 years. I do it professionally, but I also do gaming professionally. So mostly Dungeons and Dragons, though I am in the middle of starting a brand new entire show based around Masks, the New Generation, which is one of my favorite TTRPG systems that are out there.
Mhm.
And I've played kind of everything. I've flown around the world doing it. I am steeped in nerd culture from both just like what I just like to do, but then
Mhm.
also my job. So it's
Perfect.
kind of a mix of both.
I love that. We will be coming back around to Sidekit because Mask is my favorite TTRPG system.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, though, I like to start this off by kind of asking everyone the same general question here.
Ooh.
What got you into tabletops? Like, what got you into TTRPGs? How long have you been playing? And then how did that kind of grow into actual plays and doing it more than just, for fun?
Yeah. So I was introduced to TTRPGs in middle school
Okay.
by a friend by the name of Kyle. I don't remember his last name, but I remember his first name was Kyle. And I remember he had a basement and divorced parents who would just give him things that he liked. So one of those things was a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, like the minis and the maps and the
Hmm.
books, because the books are expensive. They're not like cheap stuff to get, especially back then. Now it's a lot easier, accessible to get stuff like kind
Hmm.
of on the sly and on the cheap. But back then it was like you had to have the bread for real. And I remember one day he invited me over to his house with a bunch of our other mutual friends, and he was like, We're gonna play Dungeons and Dragons." And now at the time I had never played Dungeons and Dragons specifically because, as you are aware,
Hmm.
Paige, it is of the devil.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so he was like, "Oh no, that's that game that they tell you you'll go to hell if you play." Well, I played it, and lo and behold, while I am going to hell, on the way, I've had some of the most fun times in my life playing that game. And so
Hmm.
since middle school, I've been playing TTRPGs as I found them, just because I think they are the evolution of imagination play. I think that what video games try to do, and I love video games, I'm a big gamer.
Hmm.
What video games try to capture is a fraction of the creativity that
No,
a
that's
lot
so
of these
fair.
TTRPGs can do. Like it's just the ability to kind of just play with your own imagination. There are very few things as you get older that allow you to tap into that imagination part of your brain that you used to do as a kid.
Hmm.
It's hard to do. We have a lot of shit in there. Can I swear on this?
You can totally swear on this.
Okay, cool. I didn't even ask. My
There's
bad.
no way I cannot swear on my content. You're fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I didn't ask, and I probably should have
No,
beforehand.
you're
So
so
that's
fine.
a lesson to everybody. Make sure you check everybody's comfortability stuff.
Yes, but
But
we don't give a
um,
fuck here, so it's fine.
yeah, we out here. All right. So, but like, there's just a lot of shit going on. We have a lot of stuff in our brains that are just adult stuff.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? The world becomes a little less fun to be in the older you get, depending on your level of marginalization. It's a quicker understanding of that,
Hmm.
depending. But TTRPGs really sort of allow you to play
Hmm.
in a way that I think even video games don't truly get. They get close, but they
Yeah.
don't truly get to. And so I've been playing RPGs for a while, and it wasn't until literally the pandemic, like the lockdown,
Hmm.
I'd never heard of actual plays. So
Yeah.
like I wasn't a part of that community. I brought Dungeons and Dragons to my like Bible college. Like I was like the bad kid
I love that
who
for
was
you.
like, "Hey, let's play this devil game and it's gonna be okay." Like I corrupted hundreds of students
I
to
love that
play
so
this
much.
to play this game, and like So, but I didn't even know that actual plays were a thing. I didn't know that was like a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I just, you play with your friends. You play that because that's how I learned how to play in a basement with a group of people. That's how I learned to play. During the lockdown, I started hearing, or a little bit before the lockdown, I started hearing about this thing called Critical Role,
Mm-hmm.
which everybody's heard of. They're like the Coca-Cola of TTRPGs. And I was just like, oh, oh, that's cool. That's fun. That sounds. I didn't know how I didn't know how lucrative it was. I just thought it was a cool thing that
Mm-hmm.
these people were doing, and I was asked to be in actual play
Mm-hmm.
before, and it was my first time doing it. It's like, oh, it's like playing Dungeons and Dragons, but in with an audience, in front of an audience, and
Yeah.
I can't remember what the first game was. I do remember what my second game was though. That really influenced me, and I almost left doing APs altogether. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I'm not even supposed to talk about that. Is that
You can
I don't
talk
know
about you can
what
talk
part of
about
this.
whatever you want to talk about, dude.
Okay, cool. Well, anyway, all that to say is I had a pretty negative experience with my first ever
Mm-hmm.
actual play before. And I almost was like, okay, I'm not gonna do this anymore.
I think I
Specific
may know what you're talking about, and we can probably talk about it after this goes off the air to clarify.
like I had a pretty negative experience, and so then I was just like, oh well, maybe I'm not gonna do this anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
then, I so I had done a musical performance,
Mm-hmm.
two musical performances for an organization called Gen Con. And during the lockdown 2020, I did it with the double clicks virtually. I'd
Okay.
never heard of this thing before, but I was just like, it's a paycheck. There's not a lot of shows going on right now, so I'm gonna take it. Then I found out about it. That was really cool. Then I got booked to do another musical performance the following year. So I was already going to be there anyway. And this creator by the name of Dice Cream Sandwich, he asked me to be a part of his live show that happens at that con.
Would love
And
Kevin. Kevin is so great.
yeah, so I was like, oh, cool, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Like that sounds like fun. I was kind of already on my way out, but I was like, well, I'm already going to be there anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and like, it is what it is, right? Well, uh at that thing somebody asked me to be a part of their actual play. That person's name is Ivy. It goes by Game Raider Girl on
Oh,
all of the things. And now
that's
I mean
that
I said
game's is that game still going on? That's the
no, the first game was her Alice in the Underdark
okay,
game.
because I know
So it
the
was bait.
was it the Realm Walker one? Is that the one you're in
Yeah, Realm
now?
Walkers is
Okay.
still going on right now on Tuesdays. But so she had asked me to be a part of her Alice in the Underdark game. And honestly, I just said yes because she was hot and she was talking to me. So I was just
I
like,
think that's most people's response to Ivy. It's fair.
yeah, I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Like, I don't want to see energy about it. So I was just like, yeah, I'll do. I will play whatever game that you would like me to play, lady
That
who I've just
is
met.
so valid.
And so I got on to the Alice in the Underdark game, and when I
Mm-hmm.
tell you, it was probably one of the most fun I've had in playing Dungeons and Dragons up until that point. It really was. Like the cast was great. I still have so many fond memories of everybody in that cast. It was so much fun. Uh, it was just I've never done an AP like that before,
Mm-hmm.
and it reinvigorated my love for cooperative storytelling with an audience, whether that be virtual or live. And
Mm-hmm.
then from there I kind of just got into the AP community a little bit more, with a little bit more structure and self-assuredness that comes with kind of just knowing your shit, knowing what makes you happy, knowing when to walk away, knowing when to say no to things.
No, that's so valid.
Which is a big when you get into doing this semi-professionally or even kind of professionally, it's a skill that you kind of have to figure out. There's no real roadmap to it. You might just have to fail a bunch,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
fair. I've only been in the space really for 5 years because I started playing during lockdown, like
Oh
tabletops
yeah.
in general, and then just kind of fell into and was pulled into
Hmm.
the AP space by people. Um, and I feel like I've only really started to figure out like where I am in the space in like this last year
Hmm.
since like Pat's last year when me and you were talking
We were just
the
hanging out.
fucking
Yep, yep.
that part, we went to a start playing party. It was like way too many people in this tiny ass bar. So me and Matt fucked off to the front bar because we were like, this is insane.
Like, okay, so I tell people this a lot in the TTRPG space. I have really great friends that this is like their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is their thing. They found their thing.
Yep.
And so for them, a lot of the work is to get into the room where it
Mm-hmm.
happens, to use a Hamilton reference. Like they
Yeah.
have to hobnob, they have to rub elbows, they have to do XYZ because they're trying to get into the room where all the cool shit
Mm-hmm.
happens. And I don't really want to do that. Like I have a job where I kind of already have to do it already. I'm a musician.
Yeah.
The entertainment industry is tough. It's a lot of like people who are really cool, and then you have to figure out like how much you're gonna kiss their ass depending on what you're gonna do. I don't particularly like that. So I have to do that for my job. So when it comes to like a thing that I enjoy doing because I love the art form, I might just, I just might fuck off to the smaller area and have real conversations with people I enjoy talking to,
Yeah.
because I don't really need to be seen with the crowd. I just don't need to. So not to say that it's bad. It's not saying
No,
that it's a
it's fair.
bad thing
It's
to
it's
do. It's
just
a part of the
something. Yeah,
job.
it's part of it. Like I'm somewhere in between. I have a corporate job. I don't need to be successful in this space to like
Yeah.
as a like a living or anything. I do it for fun, and yeah, if I get big opportunities, I get big opportunities. It's I'm kind of like in between. I'm not looking for them, but if they happen, cool. I've met a lot of
There
cool
is a sweet
people.
spot that you need to find, and
Yeah,
everybody's sweet spot's different. It might put you in a different room, or a different party or whatever. It's
yeah,
just kind of, and there's nothing wrong.
exactly.
I love those parties. I think I go to every one because it's like there's more my friends are going. But
Hmm.
like the moment and this is for everybody who plays TTRPGs who want to think about getting into like the more professional version of it.
Yeah.
Just you gotta ask yourself. There's gonna be a time where you feel that you are not welcome, leave. The moment
Hmm.
you are not enthusiastically accepted or brought in, my advice is to maybe just go find someone else to talk to, because you'd be surprised how many cool people you meet that way,
Yeah.
and you kind of
It's
can
a
bypass a lot of the weirdness.
it's a very insular community because there's a lot of us, but like everyone kind of knows each other at this point.
Yeah. Mm.
But not everyone clicks together, and sometimes that can cause friction because people don't understand that you will not like every single person you meet. That's just a fact of life of being an adult. You won't click with
Yeah.
people, and
It's
that's
it's
just
it's
how
we're a
it
bunch of
works.
nerds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're a bunch of nerds. We don't know how to do social situations. We didn't grow with that, and now we all have to navigate this because we're all in the same industry, and it's just like you
Yeah.
just
There,
gotta find the people you vibe with. That's really what you need to
you
do.
do, you do. There is uh it's a mix of nerds who
Hmm.
are whose favorite thing in the world is finally being respected,
Yes,
and
finally
so they're
getting that
very
attention.
excited.
Yep.
Like they're very excited to get that attention, and a bunch of people who are never nerds who are just really good at this thing that is finally being respected. And it is a mix of the cool kids coming to this thing and the nerd people who are looking to be cool kids coming to this thing.
And it,
And it's a
yeah.
hot, swirling vortex of insecurities and ego and love and loss and,
Hmm.
and friendship and all that stuff. And dice all into one thing.
Yeah,
And
and then when everyone throws their trauma and shit into all their characters, it's a messy
specifically
environment.
personal trauma
Yes.
in your characters, it is a hotbed for hurt. It can be
Hmm.
incredible, like fiery connection, fierce one of my best friends in the world, one of my people I consider my best friend, that's breathing right now, I met playing AP.
Hmm.
Like, her name is Gina. She is
We love
the
Gina.
best
Gina's
person
great.
I know. And well, maybe not the best person I know, because I know a lot of cool people, but she's definitely up there. And she's constantly like being amazing at this thing. I would have never met her if I didn't take a chance
Hmm.
in being in a group with a group of strangers, and then we
Yeah.
just emoted at each other for hours and hours. You know what I mean? And so it's
Yeah.
like, you have to figure out your shit. figure out your bit, know when to walk, know when to say no, know when to leave, because what you're actually doing, you're not just playing a game, you
Hmm.
are emoting. You are allowing people into like intimate
You're being
parts of yourself.
so vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like over and over and over again for hours. It's very similar to being like in a play
Oh,
or in a
totally.
show, like in
I mean,
theater,
the amount
of
of
how
fucking theater kids in this space definitely plays into that.
it's this. I tell people all the time, like TTRPG space is just theater.
It
If
really
you were
is.
in theater in high school, you know what you're about to step into. If you were never in theater in high school, then
It's like
allow
this
me to tell
weird,
you,
it's
it's
like
that.
this weird mix of theater, improv, and acting just thrown together. And it's such
Yeah,
a vulnerable environment that a lot of people don't really see. It's like, I feel
yeah.
like every game I've been in, I don't necessarily vibe with everybody I've played with, but I usually end up like one or two people each API run, or I'm in like, oh, you're my people. I'm gonna snatch you over here, and then just
Oh,
collect people as you go, because you're gonna get vulnerable with at least one or two people at the table. Like it's gonna happen.
exactly.
You're gonna
And there's
bond through those characters.
romance. You're like your characters are kissing,
I mean,
and
yeah,
then a lot of
that's
times the characters are fucking, and then you go to the con, and the people who's playing those characters are fucking in real life, and then all this stuff is going on, and people are falling in and out of each other. All I'm saying is that
yeah,
it is in it's wildly intense.
it's
And
such
if
an
all
intense.
you've wanted to do is play games with people, just know that once you get into the wider world of APs and professional gaming, you need to do a lot more personal work just to make sure that you have your shit together,
Yeah.
which is great. It's great because this community can provide you with some of the coolest moments for yourself, and it's worth finding that out, but it
Hmm.
is not easy. It's I tell people it's like climbing Mount Everest. If you don't plan for it, you are not going to do well. But if you plan for it and you know the things that might come up and the things that might come up for you and what you need and da 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 da, da, then it's an amazing experience that very few people actually take the time to try.
Yeah. You really gotta check your ego at the door and know what you're looking for in the space and like what you're trying to carve out for yourself before you go into it.
Huh?
If you just go
100%.
into it like, oh, I'm just gonna do all this stuff and just go in, you're not gonna vibe well when you do in the community. You're
Yeah.
gonna get hurt. You're gonna get taken advantage of. Like, because not everyone is great in the community. There's people that come out all the time that are
Mm-hmm.
bad. We just have to like look
Yup.
at like for example this 18 Phoenix stuff a couple years back. The fucking Gabe Hit shit earlier this year. Like people will come out of the woodworks and do some fucked up shit.
You don't know, and if you don't know, if you're not ready for that, if you think it's all kumbaya and holding hands and stuff, and it's not. There
Uh,
are people here that it's a business. Also, it's also I
yeah.
tell people it's
I've
the
I've
entertainment
yeah, I've had
industry.
some friends compare it to that. It's a small niche, but it still is technically part of the entertainment industry. The entertainment
So
industry notoriously is bad.
like it's predatory.
It's very predatory.
I don't even like I always say like it's not even so much. Well, bad is still a good word to use, but it's like predatory. There are
Yeah.
people who are here who consume.
Yeah.
That's it.
There are people here who are more concerned with getting further and further and further along those levels to reach
Mhm,
Critical Role and Dimension 20 and Adventure Zone and
mhm.
be at that level and don't care what they have to do to get there.
Exactly. And
When,
that's in anything, but in
yeah,
entertainment, it's really easy to do, and it's a lot easier to mask.
yep.
If you're playing a sport and you're really aggressive in that sport, it's really hard to mask that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
I fight
hard.
dirty. Yeah,
It's
I
really hard
hit
to
hard.
navigate because
Yeah.
this community is very, very open, very diverse, and everything as well. But there's also a lot of performance in that in the space that a lot of
Mhm,
people will use that and mask that and
mhm.
not have the best intentions sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm like, my bit is and I've told this to friends who are like, oh, I'm like, oh, they're inviting me to the cool kids table or the cool kids room,
Hmm.
but they're not inviting you. Are you going to be okay? And I'm like, I love TTRPGs. That's why I'm here. I
Hmm.
don't actually need to be famous from doing it. I have a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Like I have a whole other thing that's my job that I love that brings me all of the good feelings. So like know that I'm just here to play the game and I like it. I have a really great time and I don't need to be cool. I don't need to be liked particularly. I just like
Hmm.
to treat people the way I want to be treated and then also play this really cool game.
Yeah. It
And
makes so much
so
sense to
I
me.
Yeah, the TTRPG space I always say is different than the AP space. It's because the AP space is kind of just the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
It's just smaller. It's YouTube. It's TikTok. It's like
Yeah,
it's
that's why
that.
I've gotten so
And
much more selective with my space in the AP space. Like I have my own channel, I run my podcast, I run my APs, I have a server with people that I trust to at least some extent that I can pull from, and then I just play in opportunities where like, okay, I know this person, they're cool, I'll give this game a chance. Like I don't need to be pushing through to that point at this point because it's a lot.
yeah, no, it's so much. And I really think that I think it's something that should be talked about more. I think in general, just when we talk for new people to
Hmm.
come in and
Yeah, I've made some new friends over the last 6 7 months that I've had to have some conversations like this with me. Like, yeah, just know what you want. Know that you need
mhm,
to be careful when you get involved because not everyone's going to be the best of intentions with new
yep.
people.
And be cool yeah and know what you want out of this.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I love TTRPGs. I've done a few APs. I was invited to do things overseas,
Hmm.
doing TTRPGs. I have thrown multiple shows here in my home state of Minnesota. It's called D10K, where we have a live like game,
Hmm.
and we had my DJs there. We do sound effects, we do prizes, we did all these games. You know what I mean? It was like it was a half improv, half Dungeons and Dragons sort of thing, and we were selling out multiple things doing it. Like there is a desire to see this play from people who don't play Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah.
or TTRPGs as well. And so it's all kind of come back to like, oh, hey, I'm on a bunch of APs that I love, I enjoy, I have a lot of really fun time on them. And I have my live show and I have sidekicks that's being filmed right now that
Hmm.
we're working through. Uh but yeah, I think Dungeons and Dragons is kind of like the McDonald's of TTRPGs,
That's
or
so appropriate.
almost so much.
It's
Almost
so, yeah.
so much that I feel like people should talk about how close they are in like their business practices and stuff. But like but then there's so many other types of TTRPGs out there. So for example, we talked about Masks,
Yes.
A New Generation is such a fun role play system that I didn't even know existed. If you behind me here, this whole top shelf there,
Hmm.
that's all TTRPG books.
Yeah, I love
Different
that.
systems, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, Power Ranger books,
Yes.
Mutants and Masterminds, the old DC universe TTRPG system, like Legends, like a
There's
bunch
so
of
many good
different.
systems. I don't even
And
play D&D that often. Like the only D&D game I have right now is Castleton, and besides that, and I'm starting to get into some games that are some like offshoot from Castleton of like one of the creators. But like beyond that, I don't run D&D on my channel.
really, and it's like it's because it's saturated. Everyone's doing Dungeons. I love it.
I
I'll
love
still
it to
play
an
Dungeons and
extent, and I will
Dragons.
play
Yeah.
it when I get the opportunity. But it's just like there's so many systems. Like I can run D&D whenever. I can come back to that. There's so many great. I mean, Powered by Apocalypse alone has like 10,
Yeah, like
12 games.
different games in it. I I tell people all the time, like, yo, it's just cooperative theater.
Yeah.
You don't even really need a system if you don't want one. You
You
can just
really
kind of get
don't. You could
together and
just
tell a
play and role
story.
play. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, like that's what it is. The rolling is what gives you structure, and some people need the structure to figure out how they go from point A to point B. It's another reason why I like Mask so much is
Hmm.
because it's a lot more focused on the narrative. Yeah, there's a rule and you have numbers, hard numbers, but has a lot more to it's more of a guideline to how the story's going
Yeah.
and allowing you to move things. It's one of the reasons why I like DMing and GMing more than playing
Hmm.
personally, because I don't have to worry so much about like being stuck. I can spend more time weaving narrative and being a character and interacting with my friends and their characters and finding the place
Yeah.
they fit. And I maybe you might be able to speak to this
Hmm.
in a way that other people might not be able to speak to this. But like as someone from a marginalized community, you don't always people don't always make space for you at a table. And
Yeah.
when you're a DM, you get to make space for people. And it is a very vulnerable thing to sit at someone's table knowing that there's a chance that they might not make space for you. And so that's kind of why I like GMing and DMing more, because I don't have to worry about that, because I'm the one who gets to
No,
make the
that made
space.
so sense because when I like the GM because I like the role build. I like to get my players involved, pull their backstory in, and I like to just tell stories with people. Like that's my favorite thing. Like I I have multiple campaign ideas that I haven't even got to yet that I've role built for because I'm like, oh, these will be a cool idea, cool setting. I can pull
Mhm.
people in, see what they come up with, and we're going to just fucking go. I'll figure out the system later if I have to, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
But yeah, like the last what? How long have I been out this trans? 15 months now. Since I've come out as a trans woman, I've
Yeah.
definitely seen that marginalization. I'm like, I was talking to my friend this other day. I was like, yeah, the more I lose my male privilege, the more I'm realizing like, fuck, shit. And like
That's,
even
oh my
even
God,
even
it's
in
so
this
real.
even in this like open diverse space, there's so much like even in like the LGBT community, there's so much shit with like trans and gender non-conforming
Yep.
people where you're seen as like girl light, male light, and you still are excluded from those spaces.
It is indicative of this being a problem regardless of what community you're in.
Exactly.
Like, and I think there are a lot of people in our TTRPG community specifically that kind of want to go la 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 to some of these things
Mm-hmm.
that other communities are dealing with, because they want to believe that because they're nerds, because they might have gotten picked on, because they might have not been the cool kids growing up, that they're immune to some of the very same practices that their bullies would do. And I'm like, that's not the case. Just
Not.
because you grew up getting bullied for liking Sailor Moon doesn't mean you're not transphobic. Like, you
Oh
could have both
yeah.
of those things happening at the same time. And like, that's
Yeah, the
something
amount
that
of
you
like subtle transphobia I've seen in people that throw me off. Like even people I still interact with sometimes, I'm like, it's a lot.
it's a
It's a
lot.
lot. It's a lot to deal with and
Yeah, and
navigate.
ask any person of color in any TTRPG space, and if you get them on an honest day, they'll let you know.
Yeah.
Kind of like, they'll let you know. Like, we
I've
all,
never related to my BIPOC friends more than I have in the last year. Like
it's
I'm like
there is this
it's wild.
silent sort of like, some people are just resigned to it.
Hmm.
Some people are just resigned to it. Like, this is just the way the world works. This is the fandom I like. I have to take the good with the bad. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
And like, that's a very fine and perfectly reasonable way to go about your shit. And if you have the fortitude to just to eat that every day, that's just what you do. You know what I mean? It's not like you can change it
Hmm.
on its own, on your own.
Yeah,
So it's
it's
like,
so much of it is just built
mhm,
into our society. Like the
exactly.
amount of stuff that I've noticed, like watching TV and movies and listening to music over the last like years since I've come out as trans, like even stuff like I've seen before, I'm like, fucking Christ, how did I like not realize how transphobic some of this shit was? Like, like
It's a
I'll
lot.
be watching episodes of reruns of stuff I've seen, and I'll hear a comment, and I'm like, what the fuck did they just say?
It's going back and looking at anything is always crazy to me.
It really
Like,
is.
because you go like, yo, I can't. But when you're young, if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know. And
Hmm.
like, there is,
Watching early
I
2000s stuff now. Fucking
yeah, like, come on now. And this is like early 2000s progressive stuff.
yeah.
Go watch Will and Grace, like early episodes of Will and Grace, and see how they talk
Yeah.
about trans people. Like when I tell you that, like, even the
How much
progressive stuff,
content has trans people as like weird perverts or villains or just never like
or
normal
silly,
people? They're
or
never they're
silly.
silly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's never
yeah,
just a
yeah.
normal person. Oh, who like, oh yeah, this character is also trans. It was the only like I didn't see a positive trans interaction in a TV show until Supergirl with Nicole Maines. Like that was
Wow.
probably
Yeah.
the most recent like most recently going back that I could think of where I saw a positive character in that light. Like they were a superhero. Them being trans was just a detail that they only really mentioned like a few times throughout the show.
And it's just like that. The community, the TTRPG community, the nerd community is not immune
No.
to the overall societal ills that we all have. We're bringing it with us. You're playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is historically
Not
kind
great.
of racist.
Yeah.
You can't pretend that it's not in
And
here
it's not even
because
something that's like far back. There was like a recent release with the Astral Sea Ship. They had to walk a whole race back because it was
yeah, the
racist as
monkey
fuck.
race,
Yeah,
the
it was
monkey
racist as
slave
shit.
race.
Yeah,
Oh, I remember that.
what the
I almost
fuck?
quit playing Dungeons and Dragons as a whole because of that.
Yeah,
Because
that
I was
shit
just like,
was
what the
fucking
hell? That's
wild. And you can say
wild.
you reprinted that shit, but you guys have fucking like racial and social consults now at this point. Like, what the how you fuck you let something like that slip?
Because it's still baked into
It's yeah,
people.
yeah.
It's baked into people. And if we can't acknowledge that it's in there, if you can't acknowledge that it's in there, you won't be able to fix it. And
Hmm.
and it is not and it's and I know that everybody knows it because we all have the shorthand. We all know there's a reason why these cosplayers, especially the femme presenting cosplayers, kind of walk around these cons with men they trust around them.
Oh yeah,
Like, that these problems aren't just out there. Like, they're here. And so, like, it's the same. So when a person of color, when someone like with a different gender expression tells you that like this is happening to them, believe them, like, because it's with us. It's with us. So it's another reason why I say the TTRPG community is a beautiful community to experience, but you kind of need to know your stuff. If like you kind of need to know what is your shit
hmm,
because you're coming into these places and a lot of people don't even know. I'll go one step further. I am a lot of people's only black friend in this space.
yeah,
Like it's crazy to think about. Like
yeah. The amount of tables I see that try to have BIPOC people, and it's like one or two of the same people throughout their games, and I'm like, cool, I get it, but it's you can fix that. Like,
well, I don't remember what it
I
was.
could very easily grab a group of and run an all BIPOC game because I have a ton of friends that are like it's not something that I try to do. I just like I have
You're just
in the
for
last
valuable.
year just like been to the point where like I am so tired of dealing with the shit that like I will come at you with my full personality, like just ignore the tism and just present myself. And if you don't vibe with that, you don't vibe with that, and that's
It's
fine.
okay.
I know
It's
I'm an
okay.
adult. I know what people will. Some people will think I'm too open. Some people will like not be into it, and I don't care. I just don't care at
Uh,
this point. Like
as long as you treat people with basic kindness and respect, it's
exactly,
okay to not like people. I like
exactly.
it's not against the rules to just not vibe with somebody. I don't vibe with everybody. I just kind of but I try to treat everybody with
Yeah,
respect. I don't need to be mean. I don't need to be mean. I don't need to be exclusionary. So
yeah.
like yeah, like the TTRPG world is it's a nest. Sometimes it's a little bit of a rat's nest, but but ultimately, like I said, TTRPGs,
Hmm.
the art form is so good and so fun and so expressive and so beautiful that like it's worth the fight.
It is. Yeah,
It's worth the fight, but you do have to fight. But it's worth the fight because this, like I said, me and Gina have the same birthday.
I know.
We have the same birthday. We would have never. We have annual birthday breakfasts. We talk all the time. Like we're friends. Like we're friends. Like we care about whether something happens to the other one. I know about
Gina's
their
great.
lives.
I'm waiting for their test and stuff and God Killer to die down so we can actually get lunch. But I've been in Chicago. We've just been so fucking busy. Like,
No, it's just like it's like the world is so, but it's like but like we know each other. We get to know each other. I have other friends that
hmm,
like are good friends now, and not just at the table,
yeah,
just in life. I can reach out to them and ask them a question about something that I'm worried about or thinking about, and they'll hit me up. This is a wonderful community to find your people.
exactly.
It's but it is a fight, and the farther you are on the marginalization spectrum, know that it is just as much a fight here as it would be in any other place. Like, please don't. be let your guard down.
Yeah, it's so
Don't
valid.
don't let your guard down.
There are definitely some friends that I have that I am less close to now after I've come out than I was beforehand. Before Gen Con 23. There was some friends that I had really good interactions I was really open with that I noticed something click after that I'm like, cool, you're open, but there's this slight hesitancy now to our friendship. And I'm like, cool, noted.
It's real. It's real, and it happens. And like I also try to say like, yo, a lot of these people are they're kids. Like they just kind of this is coming
Mm-hmm.
straight out of high school. Like they're not
Yeah.
they're maybe a sophomore in college. Like they haven't really lived the life enough life
Yeah.
experience yet to
It's a
understand how some of these
32-year-old
things work.
woman when most of the space is 22 to 28 is like wild for me.
There is a very
It's a
different
very
life.
wide range of people.
It's a very wide range of people,
And that's not
and
to
it's
say
such
it's not to say too
okay.
much because I do know some people that are like 24 and up that are emotionally mature and are at good points in their life. But it's such a wide range of people that you really have to navigate people's experiences.
Something to learn. You can learn a thing at any age. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? So it's just about when you learned that thing.
Yeah.
I could tell you personally, as someone who grew up like super evangelical, a lot of my shit that I had to unlearn is something I did later on in life. But it is
Mm-hmm.
something that I had to unlearn, or like more appropriately, the respect was something that I had to learn. And
Yeah.
some people learn that when they were 13. Some people learn
Yeah.
that when they're 33. It's not about whether that person's better or worse. It's just this person didn't know that until this time, and now they do, and now they act differently. It
No, it
just
makes
so
so much
happens
sense.
it just so happens that the older you get, the more likely you are to have learned some of these lessons. But that's just because you've been around for longer.
Yeah.
Like you've made the mistake for longer, and then you've learned to fix it. So yeah, when you're hanging around with a bunch of kids fresh out of college, and they're just like, yeah, we're gonna do X, Y, Z, and we're gonna da 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 da. Da. And I've never really had to have the hard conversations about boundaries, or like marginalized communities, or I'm from a small town in Iowa and my friends play online and I don't go
Yeah. I mean,
outside.
that's such a
Like
thing. I've had to set boundaries recently through my coming out. I had to cut off so many fucking people and
for real.
shit through that and my divorce and everything over the last year and I've had to unlearn like the amount of male toxic socialization that I've had to unlearn as a woman now. Fucking Christ, dude. There's stuff that you don't even think
Couldn't even.
about. Like as you can see with the lesbian flag behind you, I had to unpack that was just me seeking validation from men when I was into men. Like that was such a thing for me. I was like, oh, I wasn't into men. I just wanted them to acknowledge me as a man when I was thought that was fun. That's what that shit was.
Oh,
So
I
yeah,
wish I had the air horn button. Do 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 do
yeah,
do do.
it's fucking wild
That's
to
real.
really like
That's real as
experience
shit.
it. Yeah, it's so
That's real as
real.
shit.
It's so
Like
wild.
yes, this nerd community, and it's funny because all of our like we have so many stories
Mm-hmm.
about othered people who are othered.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every and it's one of the another reasons why I talk about like this community, like we are the entertainment industry, is that's like, yo, almost everybody's story when they play Dungeons and Dragons or one of these TTRPGs is about overcoming adversity, fighting tyranny,
Mm-hmm.
standing up for the oppressed, like da, 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 da. But it's like that's not just at the table.
Yeah.
It'd be great as a community if we were the ones that also required that out of our peers and our higher ups, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, our upperclassmen, as we say, like the critical roles, the dropouts,
Yeah, that's what I was
like
about to
you
say.
guys are
There's a reason why the first tabletop really to take off and still be so popular is an all-white cast of friends and famous voice actors. I'm like, and
dedicated.
I know
I
they've done some stuff since and they've started to bring other people on, but still, that primary cast,
I
yeah.
I I watched a show with a group of people who they do gospel pop type music.
Mm-hmm.
Their name is Lawrence. There was a big it was a big trend on TikTok to hate them for a while. And one of the things that I had said was like, 'cause they were mostly white on stage. I think it was like almost everybody
Yeah.
they're doing, but they're doing gospel-y black culture music. And I was like, I have no problem with you playing a game with all your friends. And they're just your friends, and it's just
Hmm.
like this is the friend group. But I always say, okay, but you don't have any black friends that are into this? Like that's what it's not that it's a problem that you're playing a game with your friends. It's just like it's weird that in a game that is specifically about othered people
Yeah.
running around and trying to stop tyranny and badness and stuff that you don't have any friends of color who would be just as into it as you are and have been around for as long as you've played it. I've never seen a picture of me and my friends that didn't have a black person in it. I because I am black. So I
Hmm.
have never not had representation in anything. Now I might have every single people group in it. I know, but in the idea of the majority versus the minority, it's always around me. So it's just like it's hard for me to fathom this concept that you got all these people together, you put all these cameras up, you have all of this money and all these things, and nobody you know that you
Hmm.
want to hang out with on a regular basis is not the same race as you. I don't know how you do that if you're not someone who doesn't hang out with people who aren't the same race as you. If you're a person that doesn't hang out with the people who aren't the same race as you, that makes sense. I don't have those kind of friends. Okay. But if it's because it's your friend group, that's weird, right?
It's very weird.
You didn't call nobody. You didn't call somebody like, yo, this thing's popping off. You want to jump on before it gets too crazy? You didn't think about that?
Yeah.
Like that's weird. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to me.
It's
But
weird. Yep. It's totally weird.
all
Uh,
right, I'm just a guy.
I'll just say I'm a more of a Dimension 20 fan myself. But beyond that, um,
The
I
RC
think
Cola.
we should pivot to
Yeah,
the second part of the episode because we went on a little bit of a rant. It's fine. It
we
was
did.
great.
We were going there.
Why don't you tell everyone what your lore dump topic is, and we'll continue to rant about something more fun and less serious.
Super sad and depressing. No, okay. Here's a first. Yeah, no. Okay, so my Lord Dump. I'm super excited to talk to you about this because I wish people let me do this more.
Well, I need
I
more.
am a ranter.
I need more friends with this interest that we're about to talk about. So this should be
Yeah,
great.
I'm a ranter and I have a I'm a big picture kind of guy. So what we're going to talk about specifically is the DCEU. So this is the DC cinematic universe
Hmm.
and the movies in which have come out up until this time. Now, me personally, I've been a huge DC fan my whole life.
Hmm.
I'm more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan. I love DC Comics. I've played the video games. I have the TTRPG books. I have all of it. I have Superman pajamas.
I love
Your
that for
boy's
you.
in. And I think that anybody who's been watching these movies will tell you, objectively speaking, the DCEU has fumbled the ball at almost every conceivable opportunity. Like
Yeah.
it feels as if they want to do bad. And so what I'm going to talk about in my lore dump thing is I'm going to talk about how I would have done the DCEU from for the 15 movies that are officially in it. Not going to change the movies per se. I'm going to use the characters that they say that we have to use the characters for, but I'm going to maybe change the order,
Okay.
maybe change what happens in the movie a little bit to tell a better story. And I do have I have one movie
I'm
that I
really
would want.
intrigued to dive into this because I am the opposite. I'm more of a Marvel girly. I am an X-Men stan. That's the reason I'm
X-Men's
about
the
to
best.
start a long running X-Men campaign on my channel that's not going to have an end. This is just my MCU fucking
Mad
brainchild.
that I was not called because
Uh,
I love
I'm
X-Men.
leaving this as very open for appearances. If you think of a Marvel character you want to show up as at some point, let me know, bro.
Don't play with me because I
I'm
love that
not.
kind
I
of stuff.
have the fucking X-Men and the Marvel books here next to me. I bought a Gen Con. That was the main thing I wanted to buy. So we'll talk about that after this.
We'll talk
We'll
about that
talk more
after this because
after
I
this is
like that.
over.
I love that shit. All right, so this is the Nur-DCU for everybody who's watching. All right, this is the idea. So first off, the first movie in the franchise that I would actually put out
Okay.
is Wonder Woman.
I'm
It's one
gonna
of the
I'm gonna map
few,
this out. I'm gonna get a note.
yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
one
map
of the
this out. Okay.
few movies that they did right,
Yes, Wonder
and they
Woman was fucking
nailed it.
great.
The first Wonder Woman, just the Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, despite what you might feel about Gal Gadot at this point, we know more about her now than we did before. But
Yeah.
like, I'm not changing much of the casting for any of these because again, some of this stuff is just how it happened. But
Oh,
I
that's
would
fair.
have put Wonder Woman out first, and honestly, I wouldn't change much of what happens in that movie. Most of it is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The couple things that I would change. So the couple things that I would change in the first Wonder Woman, it, I would have added a member of her World War One group, like her little howling. They're not the Howling Commandos because that's
I
Marvel,
mean, yeah,
but like,
Wonder Woman's pretty much Mar DC's Cap, so it makes sense.
yeah. So like that group,
Yeah.
I would have added I would have added a farm boy from Kansas who is a descendant of or an ancestor or forefather, I guess, of Jonathan Kent. I would have added a Kent into that team.
Okay.
He's just a kid. He is a part of the war effort. He is on the team. He is go getter. He is thing. When Wonder Woman steps out, um, into no man's land for that iconic scene where she
Yeah.
blocks the bullet and creates the charge for everybody else, he's the first person who follows her out. Like he is in on it. He understands. I would make him as like the progressive voice of the group who's like, let's listen to this woman. She clearly knows what she's doing. Da 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 da. Why? Because you set the Kents up as those type of people. People will hear Kent, they go, "Isn't that Superman's like parents' last name?"
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, "Ooh, interesting, right?" So that's one of the things I would add. I'd add a Kent into that movie.
Okay.
The other thing I would do is I would have Ares' motivation. Like Ares is the spoiler alert for Wonder Woman, I guess. Ares is
If
ultimate.
anyone's not seen the DC movies at this point,
If you
I don't know what to
haven't
tell you.
seen
They're
it,
rebooting them at this
yeah,
point,
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah, don't worry about it. But like Ares' entire motivation was basically just war because he's the
Yeah.
god of war.
And that's such a
But
simple thing.
and that was the thing that's the one part of it I didn't really like because I was like, oh, we just do all this stuff for no reason.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would say that Ares, his motivation for doing all of this, for essentially doing World War One, is he is trying to get humanity ready for a bigger war that is to come.
Mm-hmm.
He is saying humanity is more peaceful than it should be. It's not as violent as it needs to be, not as brutal as it needs to be to
Mm-hmm.
deal with what's coming next. And in his mind, this is the best way to do that. Like we're going to eliminate the weak, we're going to kill the sick and the helpless, we're going to get all of these people out of here and the only people left in humanity are the most ruthless, the most dangerous, the most violent because there is something coming next. And I want humanity to survive because I'm the
Mm-hmm.
god of war. And if humanity goes away, then I also go away because I only exist as long as humanity is fighting.
No,
You
that
know what I
makes so
mean?
much
Is fighting
sense.
each other. So, and what is he preparing them for? Dark side. The gods know that dark side's anti-life equation is on Earth. They
Mm-hmm.
are aware of it. They chased him off the last time, as we saw in the Justice League movie. Like they chased him off last time, but they know he's coming back. So they're planning on getting humanity ready for this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman beats him, saying, if humanity needs a protector, I will protect it.
Yep.
Like we don't need to do it this way, not this way. This is not the way we survive that.
I know we're not talking
As
about
opposed,
recastings. I would recast Ares.
oh yeah,
I
this
couldn't take Remus Lupin seriously. That threw
is a
me
tough
off.
sell.
That threw
It
me
was a
off
tough
so
sell.
much. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't connect this man to a war god. I can't do it.
Oh yeah, that's my only thing I would change. Is just the motivation for why
No,
he's
that
doing
makes
it,
so much sense.
and then
More
adding
for
a
than just for war's sake, like an actual
yeah
legitimate reason.
a legitimate
That if you
reason.
look at it sideways is like, I see what he's getting at, but no.
It also creates Ares as a recurring thing that you can kind of bring up.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, at the end you just kind of like to do an after credit scene where Hippolyta is talking to Ares and he's like, "Your daughter is out of control," and she's like, "I don't know what to tell you." And he's like, "That box, that little mother box that you have over here, it's moving. You know it. I know it. And she's not strong enough to stop it." And then Hippolyta's like, "My daughter's strong enough to do anything." The reason why we cement the first movie in the DCU with Wonder Woman is you distinctly make it different than Marvel, that Wonder Woman is like one of the main protectors of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
She is immortal. She's been doing this longer than Superman. Yes, Superman becomes the big guy, but Wonder Woman should be, in fact, like the establishing force of you immediately set yourself apart from Marvel by
Mm-hmm.
having this universe sort of be female led. Like it's just boom. Wonder Woman, first one. Second movie, Wonder Woman 84. Yeah, we do two Wonder Womans back to back
No, that makes total sense to me, honestly.
because you want to do a sequel. You sequel Wonder Woman 84. This one I have a little bit more rewrites to, but like the
That
basic concept
honestly
is
fair.
yeah, she goes back, she's fighting through time. Do a little one things I love about Wolverine Origins, even though that movie is dog shit. Um
Yeah.
the opening credits where they're fighting across a bunch of different wars
Mm-hmm.
is beautiful. I love that. I like that. Like from World War One or Revolutionary War all the way to Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of see them. Like hell yeah, like I do that with Wonder Woman. She's fun because we see her in World War II and then we see her in 1984. A lot of history happens between those two
Yeah,
points.
quite a bit.
You know, yeah, you know what I mean. So like, especially very particular thing that I feel like we should probably have showing superheroes feeling some type of way about it.
Yeah.
And so you do a little montage of her fighting her way through history. She's like snippets, pictures, little things here or there. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Nothing too serious, like nothing that confirms that she's real, but just sort of just like a there's this wondrous woman who shows up when humanity needs her the most and she saves the day. We don't know who she is or where she comes from. She seems like the same person every time, but we don't know. Blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. Cut to the mall fight at the beginning of 1984 about Wonder
Yeah.
Woman 84. Perfect, good, love it, wouldn't change a thing. Basically, what you do in that movie is because the whole thing is based around like a wishing stone. It's
Yeah.
essentially evil genie, which is
So
a
like a
very
monkey's paw type wish situation,
yeah,
yep.
which is a very Wonder Woman esque thing for her to deal with. In
No.
her comics, that's kind of like the
I mean,
beginning of
yeah,
the comics.
her thing is she's more on the mystic side of the DC universe. It's like her purview. She deals with mythology and magic and shit
Mm,
along those lines.
yeah, so I say you do that. The only thing the big things that I would change is one, you have her don't have Steve Trevor be in someone else's body. That's weird and gross.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like
You could have easily just had him show up. Like, you didn't. That
exactly.
was fucking strange.
It's weird and gross. I don't like it. I felt all types of way about it. We won't get into
It
it.
felt a little
But look,
rapey. Not gonna lie.
thank you. Okay, I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, it felt
I
a
wasn't
little. It
trying to
felt
get into it,
no, it felt a little off. It was like,
but
oh,
that
this
was
is.
it was very much. So like
Yeah,
just she wishes him back to life and he's back to life.
yeah.
But because of the monkey paw situation, her powers are diminished. She is suddenly not super strong anymore and she's vulnerable easier. She still is a fighting person. She's a
I mean,
warrior.
yeah, she's still a warrior Amazon.
Yeah, so she's still kicking ass, but she could feel it. It's different. Like she's getting blood on her face now. Like when she gets punched, like her nose is bleeding. Like she's like, "Oh shit, like I'm a person again." You know what I mean? But my guy's here and maybe I'll grow old with
Yeah,
him then. I'll grow old with him because this is what I wanted. You have Kristen Wiig's character instead of wishing to be like Diana, which like me it made no
I
sense.
don't know
It
how.
that made
Yeah, I don't know how that wish got her to be Cheetah. That was such a wild. That wishing stone had
wildly
some issues.
wildly. So I've said this. I had this down pretty
Mm,
particularly. She wishes to be like this like stuffed cheetah in a room. She's like, I'm so weak, I'm so timid. I wish I could be like you animal that I spend time talking to because I'm a weird kid and I talk taxidermy animals. Like, I wish I could be like you. You're strong, you're fast, you're
Mm-hmm.
fierce, you're not afraid of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she becomes more and more cheetah like as the story goes forward. And she like I also didn't like in that movie how like her she's evil moment was her like beating up the guy who tried to sexually assault her. I actually think that that's a weird message to send.
Yeah, that
So I
happens a lot for women-led stuff.
so it's just like, why is that her villain
Yeah,
moment?
I didn't
That seems
see.
perfectly
Yeah, it was
justified.
hard for me to see her as a villain in that movie, to be fair.
It seemed
Just
perfectly justified. So just have her kill just a guy.
yeah, just have
Just
her
have her kill
snap and kill
someone.
someone. Just have her be
Just
too
kill someone.
animalistic and murder some people.
Yeah, like I'd say you have her. I say you have her fight the guy who tried to hurt her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I did it. I'm my own person. And then she's out to dinner and she hears a couple fighting, just fighting
Yeah,
about like
and she
domestic shit.
takes it too
And then
far.
she takes
Yeah,
it too
that would be
far. Like, you
great.
know what I mean? If that's the energy you want to bring to it, there's a way to do it without like making like victim blaming. In my opinion, there's a
Mm-hmm.
way to do that better. So then she becomes a cheetah. You do the whole fight. You can keep the whole Donald Trump is bad speech at the end. Like, I'm fine with that. I understand what time the movie was coming out.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, sure. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep that. But then at the end of the thing, she wishes Steve Trevor away. Like she, that she wishes that all the wishes are reversed. Because that's the thing. Because the whole point is that when you wish for something, you lose something, right?
Mm-hmm.
She wished for Trevor, and therefore she lost her powers.
Yeah.
So what she does at the end of the movie, she takes the wishing stone and she wishes that all the wishes were reversed. Because that's also weird that in the movie all of this crazy stuff happens and no one talks about it later on. Like, remember when everyone just got everything they wished for from that guy? Isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah.
Because we Paige, we live in this world, right? If right now, today, Donald Trump got on every news station on the world and said, you can have anything you wish for. You just have to ask for it out loud right now. What do you think would actually happen
It'd
in this
be
world?
bad.
Bad.
Be very bad.
Instantaneously, the planet would explode. Like, we would die almost instantly. Everyone would,
Yeah.
because everyone's doing conflicting wishes. Everyone's doing things that are doing for their own self-interest. We even see it in the movie. Guys like, I wish you were dead. Like, you know what I mean? And they just died. And it was just like, so I say that Wonder Woman wishes that all the wishes were reversed to bring everything back to the status quo, pull a fucking Fairly Odd Parents, wish
Mm-hmm.
for everything to go back to normal. But what she loses is Trevor.
Yeah.
That's what she loses. She loses Trevor. She loses all traces of him. So she loses her watch. She loses the picture in her nightstand.
Mm-hmm.
He is gone to her, as far as she's aware. He is gone, gone. She gets her powers back. You know what I mean? But she's gone, gone. And then she goes off. She's like, well, she takes the wishing stone and she gets on a subway train. This is my after credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
Gets on a subway train. The subway starts doing all the weird fucking like the magic stuff. Shows up at Shazam, the wizard Shazam's place. She says, "Take this rock, magic guy, the guy who's supposed to be in charge of these things. Take it. Keep it away from people. It's dangerous." And then she goes, "Hey, dude, you used to be like the guy. You used to help with this. And I know that the last guy you chose, Black Adam, which he doesn't have to say his name, I know that the last guy you chose didn't work out.
What you mean the cornerstone of the DC universe?
Yeah, the balance of power that
Oh,
shifts
fucking
everything.
Christ.
She says, I know that the guy didn't work out, but I think it's time for you to get off the bench and get into the fight because the
Mm-hmm.
world's getting crazier and we need more people to help. And then she leaves. And
Yeah.
then he goes like, okay, maybe I do that. And then you've now started that whole
Yeah.
section of things. And then at the very end of that movie, as you know, Pedro Pascal is being shipped off to jail. In the distance, they're driving past a farm. The people in the jail bus.
They show the landing.
He drives away, and then something falls from the sky and crashes into
Yeah.
a small farm town, and then credit, and then you see a mailbox. It says Kent, and then the end, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, Superman's coming!" So now you've established Wonder Woman in
Hmm.
2 movies as like the person. Then you go to Superman 1, Man of Steel. Again, I would change that movie a lot. Like I'd change it a
Yeah.
lot. I wouldn't do Zod. I wouldn't do Zod
Zod
actually.
was a weird first choice for me too.
It was a
I
weird
thought it
first
was
choice.
weird.
I This is my canon. This is my head canon. You can
Hmm.
tell me if you
Dude, I'm gonna
I
have to
know I'm
pick
going
your brain when I write plot for my Marvel campaign now. Like this is already so much better than the
doing
DC.
too much. You can tell me if I'm doing too much because
No, I
I
love
get
this.
into it. But like so
I'm gonna
at
try to
for
keep us
Superman
under
1,
2 hours. We just hit an hour,
I
so we
know, I'm
got
just gonna rock,
time.
shut
We
around.
got time. We got this.
Superman 1, right? The first Superman. The first part of the movie, honestly, I think is a mix between flashbacks of Krypton, Clark growing up, and then Superman his first time out.
That makes
What
sense.
will we will show what we'll show in the first movie is why Krypton exploded. I you can even do you can introduce Zod here, but he's not the main villain. Um, I would even and you can this is I've been debating this. I would even maybe put out a Krypton movie before making a Superman movie. And I know we've all seen Krypton before, but my thought process would be this. Krypton, the Kryptonians found out a while back that a yellow sun gives them superpowers.
Hmm.
Like they become next to invulnerable,
I
they have
almost
laser vision, they can fly around, they can do all this stuff, right?
I
So
almost would
Krypton,
love to do how Marvel does it with the shows and
oh yeah,
have
yeah.
like a little mini series between Wonder Woman 84
Mhm.
and Man of Steel. It's about Krypton.
They had
Because
this they
Marvel's not all their shows are great, but I do
yeah.
like how it's a little segue that kind of continues on between the movies because it's you can't put everything in a fucking movie
No,
and
you can't
connect
put everything
everything.
in a movie. And Krypton, there's a show on Sci-Fi called Krypton that I watched a little bit of, but it wasn't
Yeah, I
particularly fun.
tried. I wasn't into it.
Yeah. But like what you would do, what I say is that the Kryptonians figured out the yellow sun shit forever ago. They're spacefaring people
Hmm.
and they have advanced technology. They found out that that's what happened, right? So they're spreading across the galaxy being fucking super people. You know what I mean? And then they run afoul with the Guardians, the Green Lantern people.
Oh
Now,
yes.
granted, this is before the Green Lanterns are existing because the first villains of the Green Lantern universe are the Manhunters. And so, what happens? You have a war between the Kryptonians and the Manhunters because the Manhunters are like, you can't do this. And the Kryptonians are like, yes, we can. And there's a big old fight. And the Manhunters start going like, well, if you are a Kryptonian, if you know a Kryptonian, or if you're harboring Kryptonians, we'll just kill you because that's the best way to get rid of them because they're computers and they're faulty programming. So they're like, it creates the reason why the Guardians had to get rid of the Manhunters in the first place because now the Manhunters are killing entire people groups because they're like, well, there's a Kryptonian on this planet, let's kill him. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
because they're dangerous, let's get rid of them. Eventually, a peace is made with the Green Lantern Corps being introduced, and they said, all right, Kryptonians, we're not like we're sorry about the whole killing all of you thing or trying to exterminate you all thing. You guys can't leave Krypton though. You can't leave your planet. You're not allowed. If you do, you'll start another war with the Green Lanterns, and you don't want that. So just stay.
God, a war between the core and the fucking Kryptonians would be insane.
It'd be crazy. So it's like, stay here. And the Kryptonian high command's like, yeah, we don't want a war. Our people have been decimated. Let's just we won't be gods. We'll just stay in our red sun planet. We'll be fine.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But eventually, population, they're running out of space. And so Jor-El creates a zone, a way to get more space. It is a negative zone. We can use this infinite other dimension to kind of expand into. This is why I created the negative zone. We can maybe grow our crops here. We could figure out how to do things like that. And the council was like, oh, sweet, prison planet. And he's like, no, 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 no. This is supposed to be for agriculture and helping people. We have infinite amount of space. And they're like, oh yeah, we can throw criminals in here. That sounds great. We can start throwing people in it that we don't like. Yeah, you're right. And he's like, no, 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 let's not do this. Zod is like, yeah, this is great. I'm a general. Let's throw these people in here. Da da
Hmm.
da 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 da. And one of the biggest things in Krypton is that having babies without the expressed consent of the High Council is illegal.
Hmm.
And Jor-El has a secret baby. Him and his wife have a secret fucking baby. They find out about they find out about, you know, Kal-El. They're gonna throw them in jail. And at the same time, Brainiac, which is I'm stealing a little bit from the Timverse, but Brainiac is a crazy robot, and he's like probably using Manhunter technology to build this crazy Kryptonian super robot. And he's just like, oh, I'm gonna take a handful of Kryptonians, enough to repopulate them, put them in the negative zone, and then kill the rest. Because what he does is
Yeah,
collect,
he collects
and
civilizations.
so he goes, okay, Zod, the girl, I forget, Zora, I think her name
I think
is.
it's Zora, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
Zod,
remember
Zora,
too
and
much.
then like
Never
two other.
been a big Kryptonian fan outside of
Yeah, yeah,
Supergirl.
yeah. So two of the other ones, enough for a genetic mix of people.
Yeah.
The Zod and his crew put him in the thing, and then just goes detonates all the like sends a nuke to the center of the Krypton. Like, I'm gonna blow up the planet now. Like that's what he does. Like, you know what
Hmm.
I mean? And so now Jor-El and his wife, they're Laura L. They're like, well, what do we do? We'll take in our baby, we put him in this rocket ship. We need to send him someplace where he'll be safe. There is a planet. It has a yellow sun. We're gonna send it there because if he gets under that yellow sun, no one will be able to hurt him at least.
Yeah.
And they do. They send him off to this one. He lands in the Kent farm, and then the rest of the story pretty much just happens how the story happens. He grows up, he has adventures, he learns how to use his powers, yada yada yada. I just make the first villain. First of all, introduce Lex Luthor right away.
Yeah,
He's
you
the
have to.
main villain
You
right
really
away.
have to.
Like he's the main villain right away. And then I say the first bad guy. I have a lot more to it, but we're gonna keep it under time. But like basically, you just have him be Metallo. It's an easy first bad guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
You
Because
introduce
it
you
establishes Luther in the background,
Yep.
and Metallo's always one of his heavy hitter henchmen types, and it's someone that he can tangibly fight and show that Superman does have a
Yep.
vulnerability type thing. I love that.
Exactly. You have Metallo come out. They do punch him up. He's punching them. They're shooting lasers at each other. It's a whole thing. You can get the same amount of destruction as the Zod fight that you want out of it. If that's what you want to go to, I wouldn't, but you could.
Hmm.
And then you just Superman, he does it. Like he wins. He wins the day. Him and Lois, like make out, whatever the hell. And then that's it, right? Boom.
Hmm.
Superman won, done. Then you just jump to this is where I would add a movie,
Okay.
which is just this is my own little thing I think would be cool to watch. You'd call it Gotham, or you'd call it like Night of the Bat, or you'd call it something. And what it is a slasher movie from the perspective of a Gotham gang who is being hunted by this thing. Like they never really fully see it. It's only sort of in the background a lot. You're running, and all of a sudden, your best friend is slams upside down. All of his teeth are broken. He's got lacerations all over. He's not dead, but he's just. And you're like, holy shit, holy shit! And it's like a slash movie. It's the guy picking the bad guys off one by one
Hmm.
by one in various crazy type of ways. You get into a car, suddenly there's this massive car following you. Who is this? What is this thing? It's shadowy, it's bat-like, it's all you never see Batman full on in the first movie.
I love that.
It's just from the
Just to
perspective of
establish the legend of Gotham, of like
exactly.
this thing is terrifying.
It's terrifying. Boom. That movie happens. You just have it there. Boom, boom, boom. The end. Right. Then you go to Superman 2,
Okay.
Dawn of Justice. Like this is the Superman versus Batman, Dawn of Justice. And what you do is you have Superman just corner like I don't really care what the thing is. I don't really care what the thing is. But what I would say is you would have Jimmy Olsen, because I think we added Jimmy Olsen to this
Mm-hmm.
universe. He's out. He's with this girl. He likes this girl, and they're going, or boy, I guess you can make him gay. That's cool. Like he's out with somebody. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? In Gotham, because that person's a Gothamite.
Mm-hmm.
And they're at a club. He doesn't know that this club is a freaking bad guy club. He's just like, oh, it's a club. I'm at the club. And then that club is attacked by Batman because the bad guys are in this club. And the person that Jimmy Olsen is with is a criminal. Look, is a criminal, right? And at the same time, at the upper room, you have Toy Man, who is a failed
Ooh,
toy guy,
such a deep
a
cut. I love Toy Man.
you know, a failed toy creator who owes a bunch of money to the mob for his failed
Mm-hmm.
experiments. They're going to break his legs. They're going to beat him up. Batman shows up. He runs out of there with a bunch of money because, he got away. You know, and no one wants to buy his toys anymore because everyone who wants to buy is Superman toys. So he's now all of a sudden out of a job and he doesn't have any money. He takes all the money, he runs. Batman beats up Jimmy Olsen's date like bad, like breaks their legs, like drops them off the building like he does in Batman Begins, drops them
Mm-hmm.
off the building, breaks both their legs, leaves them in the hospital. So Jimmy goes back to the Daily Planet. It's like, we need to write about this thing that's like beating people, like this thing, this guy is beating people
I
up
have
in
a quick
Gotham.
question. Is this
Yes.
Christian Bale or Ben Affleck?
I would say you could keep it Ben Affleck if you want to. I don't have a strong opinion on who's behind the Batman
I'm
mask, to
never
be
a
honest.
big Batman fan, honestly. I
He's my
think
least favorite
I'm
DC
more of
character,
a
so I don't
fan
really
of
care.
his sidekicks than him. I don't love
100%
a Gotham Knights movie would I
would
would
be
love
awesome.
that. I'm
And
not a Batman fan.
that's why I was like, I don't really care who's behind the mask. That's why I
Yeah.
was like, it's not even really all that important. But whoever it is, he's like, hey, Daily Planet, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And then Daily Planet's like, no, crime in Gotham's not a news story. But Clark is like, well, I care because you care, and I'm Superman, and maybe I should be doing more to do that. And so he goes to Gotham to try and figure that out. In so doing, like the Toy Man is going to like break up this mob thing with these big toy soldiers that he built to be like, I'm in charge now. Like, you guys thought you could beat me, but look at me. I'm the best. And then Batman shows up to stop the mob. Superman shows up to stop Batman. Toy Man's there. They're both fighting. Everybody's fighting everybody. Jimmy Olsen's also there because he went to get the story, whether the Daily Planet wanted it or not. So Superman's there to save Jimmy. Batman's there to stop the Gotham like the mob. Toyman's there to fight the mob, but then sees Superman, wants to fight Superman, and then it's this whole mess. You can have the whole kerfuffle between the two of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Toyman gets away again because Superman and Batman are too busy fighting each other. Batman is losing the fight, but eventually is like, yo, what are you even doing? Like, what are you even doing here? Blah, 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 blah. They make up, not because their mom
Not because
is
their mom's
whatever.
both. Not because of Martha.
Yeah. They just made up because it's whatever. I like they like Superman like beats Batman definitively.
I mean, he
Like
should.
Batman
Yeah.
like one as he should. Slap, slap, slap. Who are you? Slap, slap, slap. Don't talk to me. And Batman goes like, oh, okay, cool. Next day, Daily Planet has a gala for some shit. And guess who's the major benefactor for
Bruce
that thing?
Wayne. You
It's
know.
friggin' Bruce Wayne. Oh, hey, I bought the Daily Planet. Oh, hey, like I bought the Daily Planet, or I'm a new investor of this thing,
Everybody says
and
was a
now
saw in a cartoon where like he did something to figure out who he was, and then he fucking like trails him back to his apartment or some shit.
yes, he basically gives Clark this award,
Hmm.
which is like integrity and honesty in journalism award. And he like walks him up and he's like, "Hey Clark, why don't you tell everybody who you really are? Because it's super cool." And Batman's basically telling Clark, "Yeah, you might be able to beat me up, but like we are not the same. Like I'm smarter than you. I'm one step ahead of you. You are hiding. I am choosing to do this. Like you know what I mean? Very much this way. So he has also bought the Daily Planet because the Daily Planet has an archival account of this wondrous woman who's been running around for decades doing super
Mm-hmm.
shit. And he's a detective and he's been trying to figure out exactly who this woman is. So he has a dual purpose for buying the Daily Planet. And you can have the whole Wonder Woman and Batman having a little moment in the back. Superman and Lex are having a little bit because it's, a gala and Lex is there because he's also fancy, whatever's whatever. You know what I mean? And then Toyman says, I put up a bunch of bombs around the city. A bunch of bombs around the city. They're disguised as toys. And I am going to kill a bunch of people because I'm sick of people ignoring me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not a villain that Superman's gonna punch per se. Toyman's just a guy. Um, but then Batman and Superman have to work together because Superman's not fast enough to get to all the places at once.
Mm-hmm.
So they split up. Batman's like, I know Gotham better than you. I can get to these places before you can. And Superman's like, okay, I'll get to the other things and I'll get this stuff. And then Wonder Woman shows up and is like, all right, I will help in this third area because this is what I do. I've been doing this for hundreds of years and you guys are just showing up. Let me show you how it's done. That's the dawn of justice
Mm-hmm.
portion of it. And then they gather all the bombs together and maybe even have Flash run in one of the bombs. Don't even show him. Just be like,
Just
whoop.
show like a little beam of lightning or some
Yeah,
shit,
oh,
like a
there's like
streak,
six more bombs. We're not
just
gonna.
show like a golden streak, and don't explain how those other bombs are just gone.
They're gone, or they all show up. There's a little note that says, "I had I found these extra ones that you guys missed."
Just with like a
Uh,
crudely little lightning bolt size
yeah,
of
lightning bolt. This
signature.
is like, hey, it's cool, da da da. Right? That happens.
I mean, that makes that's a
Superman.
fun little cameo too because Toyman is a Flash villain, so I
So it's
love
just like
that.
you just boop, you put it in there, and then Superman takes all the bombs. They're kryptonite bombs because of course they are.
Mm-hmm.
He takes all the bombs. He flies off into the atmosphere with all the bombs, Iron Giant style, and it blows up. Right? Boom! Big explosion. Blah blah blah. And Superman is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of Dawn of Justice, Superman's gone. And so now everyone is like, oh shit, like Superman's gone. Where does Superman go? They have to like fake Clark's in a coma. Like, they like Batman buys the wing of the hospital, puts Clark's body, like a body in there. Like Clark has a coma. Superman's disappeared after this explosion. Toyman's running around saying that I killed Superman. They bring him to jail. And he's like, I killed Superman. I killed Superman. Ha 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 ha. Like I'm the best. Da 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 da. And then Batman and Wonder Woman are like, we need to figure out how to coexist. Like we can't keep fighting each other. It doesn't work that way. And then they go like, well, we can make a team.
Mm-hmm.
End. Like end, right? Like
Yeah,
that's the end. Obviously Superman's not dead, but you just have him be unconscious floating through space. Like this like
yeah. He's just
he's
off
gone.
world. He's just
Yeah.
disappeared.
And I'll stop there because I know we're getting long, but that is how you build
No,
a
I love
world.
this.
This is how you build a world that A makes sense, B where every movie leads into the next movie
Mm-hmm.
in some form or fashion. Every movie sort of leads into the next movie, and then with the dawn of justice, you can start telling those other stories. Superman's gone. You need a big protector. Shazam is like, well, time to make this Shazam guy. Wonder Woman had told me to kind of do that. Now I'm going to go do that because the world needs someone
Mm-hmm.
like a Superman. So he goes and does that. Then you can do the Suicide Squad because they can say, hey,
Yeah, could be a government
like
reaction to that. Yep.
yeah, big government reaction to that. Well, we need to figure out how we're going to handle things going forward. Suicide Squad. Like you can do I think Black Adam should be a period piece. I think Black Adam should not have been a modern thing. I think you should go back in time with it. Show us why it was a bad idea to pick him in the first place. Bad idea being in quotes. Why it was a bad idea to pick him in the first place and do that. And
Yeah,
then you
I
can
don't even think
eventually
there
work
should
into
be a Black Adam movie. I think it should be Shazam 2, and he's the villain. That's what it
he's
should
the
be.
villain. I would agree with that as well. But like, if you wanted to make him a solo villain, you could. But like, that is the thing. You bring in Aquaman after that point,
Mm,
the Flash, Blue Beetle. You can do all that stuff. But so that's
yeah, it
how I
builds
would
more.
begin. It builds
Yeah,
better.
that's fundamentally the problem that's been with DC. They can't build upon their movies, and their plot lines are just so weird. Like they don't really connect in a way. It's
Don't connect.
such loose plot lines.
Hmm.
Marvel leaves a lot of stuff out. Like there's a lot of stuff they don't follow up on in their little after scenes and little plot holes and stuff too. But they do a good job at connecting the universe between movies.
It creates heroes that you want to see and people
Yeah,
that you want to like hang out with, and you fundamentally miss. I think for DCEU, I think specifically, I think they fundamentally misunderstood what makes DC different than Marvel.
yeah,
Is that DC is just kind of a little bit more campy than
hmm,
Marvel is. It just is. It inherently is. The tights, everyone's got tights. Everyone's got a
yeah.
mask and a cape. Like Marvel is very much not that.
Marvel's very much superheroes in the modern world. DC
Exactly.
is that to such a campy level. It's such an over the
Gods.
done thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's supposed to be gods, and yeah, Thor is over there, but like it's supposed to be modern day Greek gods. Like that's the
yeah.
idea. And so like you start with that as Wonder Woman being the main foundation of that, and then sort of build around that, allowing Batman to be scary. I know it's not, you don't make as much toys, you won't sell as many toys, but like you allow Batman to be scary for a little bit
Hmm.
to understand what he does fundamentally for the DC universe. He represents the fear of
Yeah.
shit outside of your control. He represents the fear of crime and what one would do to escape the tyranny of injustice. Wonder Woman is the paragon of virtue,
Ooh.
and Superman is literally
You could
the embodiment of the immigrant spirit. That's
if we
what he embodies.
we want another early Easter egg. I thought this one too for the slasher movie with Fear. One of the people that gets out could be an early Easter egg to who takes on Sinestro, like who takes on the Fear Corps, because
Or you
that
have him be Ichabod Crane.
yeah.
He's just
Oh, it
like,
could also be
I was
Scarecrow. Yeah, it could be that too.
like,
You
that
could have
was
saw
so
that. Like,
fucking
how do
scary.
I channel that
That. Yeah.
energy?
That was crazy. I can't believe I survived. Like I was so scared and da 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 and be like, wait a minute. Like, yes, fear. Like fear is
And then
exactly
when they
that's exactly
actually
right.
have a Batman movie, made Scarecrow the villain. There you
He's
go.
the first villain you
He's
fight.
the first
Because
villain.
here's my bit. I know we said we're gonna be done. I want to say one more thing about Suicide Squad and then I'm gonna move
You're
on.
so good.
Yeah, Suicide Squad's my one of my favorite comic books. I
Hmm.
read a lot of Suicide Squad growing up because it was a very interesting take on villains that I'd never really seen before as a kid. I think it was my first time seeing the genre subverted,
Yeah.
where it's like,
Where the
let's
villains
talk
are the
about the villains for a
heroes.
little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. And so I think that the first villain of Suicide Squad should have just been the Joker.
Yeah.
I think you should have introduced. I say that you have the Joker kill Toyman in an after credit scene because there's multiple Toymen. That's also a big part of it. There's
Yeah.
multiple Toymen. So have the Joker kill the Toyman in an after credit scene. Like he's in the cell, and then all of a sudden it pans back to him, and like he's dead. The whole room is covered with ha 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 and smiley faces, and the Joker's like gimmick infringement. Like he's just like, don't ever think that you can be me. Like
Yeah.
you plant bombs all over Gotham, that's my shit. Like you know what I mean? And he kills Toyman, and then he like steals this government weapon that turns into a massive Kryptonian. Again, always bring it back to Krypton. Always bring it back to
Hmm.
the shit that you have to do. Like this thing, we made this chemical monster. It's called Chemo. We wanted to create Chemo to fight Superman. He's made of Kryptonian shit, but then also just like cancer and radiation and shit. So we eat, but Joker stole it. He stole that thing. We made the Suicide Squad to go get it back.
Yeah.
Because if anyone finds out that we made that, like it's gonna be a huge deal. So if you fail, it's just supervillains doing supervillain shit. And if you succeed, we get our chemo back. Everybody's happy. This idea that the Suicide Squad was built to fight Superman is dumb.
Hmm.
Harley Quinn in a booty shorts and a baseball bat you thought was gonna fight Superman?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Captain Boomerang, Slipknot, the guy who can climb anything. You said that he was gonna fight
Literally
Superman.
no really powered individuals in that movie except for the guy who has the dot thing, which is fucking doesn't
In
do
the
anything.
second one,
Yeah.
yeah, and even that was like it was weird, and I like that. Polka Dot Man was great. Maybe Enchantress could have possibly done it, but she becomes a villain right away. So you just have
Yeah.
them fight the Joker. Have them fight the Joker, and leave Batman and the Joker for later. Allow us to get to that.
A lot. It'd be a good introduction to the Joker because they're gonna
Yeah,
beat him, but he's obviously not. He's gonna get away. You're gonna get the thing from him,
yeah,
stop him
yeah,
from doing
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and he's gonna get away, and we know he's out
And
there.
I say, and like you said, Paige, the most interesting thing about Batman is the people around him. So,
Hmm.
like, this is a Batman that is post Jason's beating to death. He is
Ooh,
violent. He is angry. He is mad at everybody. He's
that
mad
would
at the
make
world.
so much sense if the movie Gotham, would be after Jason's death. That would make it so much
'Cause he just,
scarier. Because
like, he's super scary.
he
He's
snaps after that. Yeah.
just beating the shit out of people. And Dick Grayson is away.
Yeah, and
We can,
he's
we
up
don't,
in Bloodhaven. We don't have to worry about
yeah,
him.
he's Bloodhaven. We don't even talk about him. Jason Todd's my favorite Robin. So I was like,
Really?
yeah, he's my favorite Robin.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a Tim Drake person.
I know you're a Tim Drake person.
What is that supposed to mean?
You're gay.
What? No.
All the gays love Tim Drake. All the gays love Tim Drake. It's not even something you can. I'm
How?
gay. I'm
How
gay. I love Tim
dare?
Drake. But you know what? I love Jason Todd because I love the middle children. That's me. I've
Hmm.
always been the guy who likes the person that everyone is not paying attention to. And
Hmm.
so often it goes Dick Grayson. No, 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 no. Tim Drake, because everybody remembers Tim Drake from Teen Titans, and everybody knows that Dick Grayson's the first Robin, and everyone sort of forgets.
Hey, we could throw a curveball and just bring Stephanie Brown in, throw everybody off.
We love Stephanie Brown. Shout out Robin slash Batgirl. We love
Hmm.
Stephanie Brown. Shout out slash spoiler. But also, I like a Duke Thomas. I have a
Ooh,
Duke
Duke
Thomas
Thomas is a deep
figurine.
cut. I
If you
love Duke
can't see it in the
Thomas.
screen,
Yeah.
but he's me. He's that black kid hanging around with a bunch of white people being like, "Y'all are sad."
Yeah, the Bat family's fucked.
Like,
They all need therapy.
your dad needs to hug someone. Like, it's crazy how this is happening. Did he hit you with a stick? Like,
Hmm.
that's crazy. Like, that's the energy that I want from that Batman. I want to start moving it away from how fucking big Bruce Wayne's dick is, and like move it
Yeah,
towards like,
that's just a result of the fucking fandom. Ugh.
oh yeah. So yeah, if anyone ever wants to hear more about it, I will go into
We'll do a
excruciating detail.
part two in a future season. We'll come back to this.
Yeah, oh, I have it. It goes all the way
We won't
down to
even do the first part of the thing. We'll just be like jump right in. So part two,
for
the
two.
whole
We go.
episode will be
But
that.
that's the idea. That's the plan.
No, I love that. This has been fun. This has been great.
I love it.
Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, what anything you have that you're working
Yeah.
on, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me all over the internet at Nur-D Rocks. It's Nurd Rocks, like multiple Dwayne Johnsons. It's super easy to find all over the place. If you're like liking some music or you're looking to check something out, Nur-D. Type it into wherever you get your music out of. I have 9 full-length projects and a handful of singles. I promise you, if you're even tangentially interested in hip hop, I do have something for you that you will enjoy
Hmm.
in some form or fashion. Also, check me out on all of the TTRPGs things I'm doing in 2025. We have a lot of really big stuff coming up. Not only Sidekicks, a brand new way to do APs when it's half actual play, half scripted content. Like, we're doing it in front of a green screen. There's like a bunch of stuff. There's actors. It's not just another, AP. It's
I'm
very
excited for
much a
that. That looks
television show.
so sick.
So we're putting a lot of work into it. So 2025, that's coming out. Also, I have a couple other shows that are coming out. I have Genesis Armor Room that I do with my friend Clint, where we create characters in fun and interesting ways using TTRPGs. Right now, we're going through our season of Dungeons and Dragons, but we're going to be making more TTRPG stuff as we go along. So be ready for that. And that's kind of Oh yeah, and the Interracial Friends talk show. I should start. So I have a talk show that I do with my DJ and homie, DJ Hayes, every Monday night over on TikTok from at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And yeah, it's the Interracial Friends talk show. We kind of just shoot the shit. We talk about whatever going on in the world. it is a I don't know, it's just kind of like two dudes who respect who respect people and are trying to be a better like live in a better world, talk about the stuff that you would hear on a podcast where people don't. So you know
Yeah.
what I mean? If you just want to joke and hang out around, but you know that nobody's gonna say drop a slur unnecessarily, like no one's gonna like to hate on somebody, or we're gonna talk. We check each other on shit throughout the show. It is the type of dude humor that won't make you feel gross after you listen to it. And so
Yeah.
it's a fun time. We have a good time. We love it. So check us out. Those are all the stuff that I do.
All right, perfect. And you know what I'm realizing? We need to get a game together. We still have not played in a game
I
together
know
yet. This is
we've
wild.
just been in
It's
this
like
space.
been
We've
like
never
we've
played
tried a
together.
few times, but it's never actually like happened. So either you need to be on
I
my
am not
channel, I need to be on your shit. It needs to
I am
occur
not
in
playing with
2025.
you when I say that I want to be a part of something of this Marvel long running
Oh,
thing you got going.
I
I
will.
swear to
Well, we'll
God.
talk about that once we go out there. I will definitely bring you into
Yes.
that.
All right.
But yeah, this. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. As always, you can find me everywhere at Pluto Cleric. I don't really have a lot going on, but I would just plug Castleton over on Winter's Tale. It's fucking massive. I've been compiling my notes on Rhea, and it's a lot more than I expected that I have on her background. So eyes out for the wiki page when that comes out. But beyond that, both me and Matt will be at Patch U. So come say hi, and we will see you guys in
Come
a few
find us.
weeks.
We're gonna do a lot of cool stuff.
Hell yeah. But with that, we will see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Peace.